welcome to Intuitive Clarifications with Natasha. I am here to be helpful in this world of love and light, wanting to support people through their life's journey and their understandings of where things are at, because I want everybody to remember your truth is your truth. And as you go forward into this dance in life, I am so excited to be a part of the Dawning Institute, and I am bringing Kathryn on to be able to bring in a deeper understanding of what the Dawning Institute is. And at the same time, we know that we as people are all going through something right now. And I just, Kathryn got some, written up a wonderful thing about the floods in Texas. And I also want to add on a lot of people who have gone through things over the last 2 years that, we've all gone through something. But right now, the heightened energy is Texas and the grief that's going through there. And my love is going with everybody. So Kathryn, hi, welcome. And I'm going to have you read what you got prepped. My dyslexia right now is like blowing up. So me and my eyes and my brain are not as alignment as I want to. So that's where I trust my channeled information that I get when I'm in this moment. So welcome. So Jenna's Health Solutions is amazing. This is what it is. So thank you for being here, everybody that's here so far. I'm so grateful. So Kathryn, welcome.
Well, thank you, Natasha, sweetheart. I love this. I am so honored to be on with you today. But before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the tremendous grief and heartbreak that so many are feeling in the wake of the recent tragedy in Texas. My heart's with the families who have lost their children, with the communities devastated by the flooding, and with every person. Oh, and my Wi-Fi. Okay. Anyway,
we're going to ask the angels of technology to help out.
Holding unanswered questions and unbearable sorrow right now. I am cutting out. I love this, right? So these are not just headlines. These are lives. These are babies, sons and daughters, siblings, students, futures that will never fully unfold. And no matter your background, your zip code, your political view, grief is something that should unite us and not divide us. What's deeply troubling, because I can't see anything. Okay.
There you are. And if you freeze, sweetie, if you
My
freeze,
goodness.
no, okay.
So
I'm going to
get through.
Yeah. So as I want you to know that as you freeze, this is a perfectly imperfect moment. Mercury's going into retrograde. This is part of what, and I take everything as an experience. So as we go through this is what a lot of our triggers of life cause us to have some of this trauma. And we keep repeating the trauma by having these triggers. And so I'm going to ask the technology angels to come in and support us. And that as we go forward and in this dance, we're going to take away the angst of energy, because you are a very powerful being, right? I am a powerful being. And if we are in the anxiety moment, many times we can short circuit the technology. So with that, I'm going to ask us all to just hold love and kindness, and we're just going to roll with whatever is here. And so with that, that's the thing is that there's so many young ones right now that are not going to be here for our future. And and as you're talking about the floods in Texas, I'm thinking of in the Ozark Mountains, and a lot of places like that grief is still, prevalent. And, all these, and then over over in, the Gaza Strip and that area over there, and all the children. I was actually during the fireworks on the 4th of July, I've thought, this is what people live in constantly, is that bang, 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 bang. And how lucky we are that it's just going to be for the 4th of July, and my love goes to everyone, because I mean, even that insight just brought me to that moment of understanding. And it's amazing going through this. So thank you, Kathryn, for bringing that up, and thank you for prepping that. You put some very heartfelt work into, or understanding into, that presentation. So thank you. And I'm sorry that your internet messed up. So is there anything you want to continue with that statement?
Where did I leave off? What did you last hear?
It was around the no one could have truly imagined. Why don't we start up right there?
Okay, let's just start with what's deeply troubling is the way this tragedy has been weaponized online. Mm-hmm. How loss has been used as a political pawn, how blame has replaced compassion, and how some have chosen venom over empathy. And I want to say this very clearly. This is not okay. At the Dawning Institute, we exist to help people who have been misdiagnosed, misunderstood, and misrepresented. People who've been harmed by systems and then silenced. And what we're seeing unfold right now is a form of that harm. Collective trauma does not heal in isolation, and it definitely doesn't heal through cruelty. So today, my hope is that we can speak to the heart of this moment with honesty and integrity, to name the grief, to resist the division, and to remember that our shared humanity must always come before opinions. These children deserved safety. Their families deserve support. And we, collectively, deserve better than what we've allowed ourselves to become in moments of pain. And this isn't about blame. It's about breaking cycles. And I hope you can join us in the unification of humanity.
Thank you. That was so well
put. And did I freeze right there?
A little bit, but that's okay. It worked through it. So we're all in the middle of things. And so Chandra, she's a friend of mine that she says, I hi to both of you, halfway listening joined, and my gosh, feeling is, the sadness is recent floods as well. So, and then somebody else here, Jenna, I have distant family who lost homes and stuff in that, but I'm happy that they didn't lose their lives, and blessings on that. Thank you very much. And my love goes to, oh God, my prayer. And if I can use this mantra, I use this mantra a lot. I'm asking for divine healing on this, because this is beyond. And no blame, just holding the families and who's been involved. And that's the thing is that these are the moments where, the Dawning Institute, this is why it was set up, because I was here, you and I were friends when you first were talking about doing this. So that's how long we've been together. I was so grateful that you followed that deep down guidance to have the Dawning Institute. And, that deep calling, because you have gone through your own personal misdiagnosis. You've gone through your own personal untruths that other people have put on you. And all it was that you lived a life of other people's crap put on you. Right.
Yeah.
And it was just swimming through that crap. And that's the thing is that being human, you can't get away from having crap put on you. It's what you do with it. But then there's these other diagnoses, like I've had a client that, you know, he had breakthroughs spiritually, and he was called medically, he was put in an insane asylum for 24 hours because they thought he was crazy. And all he was doing was he was traveling out to the outer dimensions and realities, you know, and seeing things that were real. But yet at the same time, he was called crazy on this planet. And it's not, you know, it's not necessarily wrong or right, but that's where we really start. And I had to help him through some trauma of that, you know, when he knew that it took a lot to let him know he wasn't crazy. He was just doing dimensional traveling, you know, he was doing things different. And, you know, so going through that. So can you kind of bring in, because you've, excuse me, you've been on my show before and you talked about your personal story, but can you give a little bit of your personal story so people can understand that the Dawning Institute came from a deep down truth?
Absolutely. Yeah. So just to, long story short, I guess I could say, I was born into multi-generational abuse, and I was the scapegoat. And so if anybody really understands those family dynamics, the scapegoat can never do anything right. And all of the collective trauma and all the baggage was placed directly on my little shoulders. At 16, of course, you're a teenager, you start to rebel, you say, none of this, I'm done, you know, a few expletives in there just for a little spice. And I was then labeled uncontrollable, defiant, and whatnot. And I was rebelling against the abuse, but because I was 16 and because I was female, they looked at me like I was a problem. I was the inevitable result of the problem. But I was put on pharmaceuticals. I was labeled bipolar, when in fact it is CPTSD and ADHD. And when they are comorbid, right? So two diagnoses that basically live together, that can actually present in women differently than it presents in men, which is why the misdiagnosis rate for women is higher than in men. And we could go into the genesis of that, which we don't really need to. Just touching really quick that a lot of these medical studies are performed in trials and groups of primarily men. And women, as we know, our hormones are different. Some of our body structures are different. Some of the way our brain is wired is different. So we have this huge gap of understanding. And it's something that a lot of women that I have talked to in the past year alone, that they have also been misdiagnosed with bipolar. Now, a few of the things with me, lithium, trazodone, risperidone, Seroquel. I mean, I could go on and on and on. All of these medications do their damage, and especially when you don't need them. So I freed myself. I liberated myself off of those only 5 years ago. And I was 350 pounds. I am down to around 190. No surgery, no supplements. It is really healing from the inside out. And during this journey, that's where I found how when you reconnect yourself, body, mind, and soul, you can start seeing accelerated results. And this is the reason why TDI is here. This is the reason why I put everything together. I live this embodiment. And I am just so honored to have beautiful people that are on my network providing these services that are all aligned and that realize that, yes, you know, the medical system has its failures. It's had successes, but there's a better way. There's a more humane way to go about this. And there's a lot of gaps that TDI can fill. And so to help supplement this crisis going on, Natasha's here. I have a few other providers as well that are beautiful, beautiful people. And we just love to welcome you into the fold of this community, of this innovation.
And some of them are wonderfully watching us, and their names are on the. So Jenna's here, and thank you, Paula, for being here, and Jeannie's thank you, or Jenna's thank you very much. My dyslexia, oh my gosh, and my ADHD is just off the rails right now. And if it wasn't for my mother-in-law who left this morning at 3:00 in the morning, I'm being so human right now. And that's the thing is that, and I want people to remember that, like for me even, and trauma can come up in different ways,
Mhm.
like for me, I know that I had a nut allergy, walnuts, almonds, the tree nuts came upon me within just weeks of me going to Florida to visit my in-laws. The thing is, though, when this allergen came up, it was around the time that my husband was still drinking, and his narcissism was pretty involved. And he's a double Leo Libra, so it's like narcissism comes easily to Leos. I love you, but there is that little dance. We all have it in us. I want to make this disclosure. We all have it in. I'm an only child. I have it in me too. But there was a meanness that came with his, and it was not a nice thing, especially when he was drinking. And I knew that every time we went to Florida before that, we almost came back divorced, and it was not an easy dance. And so my nervous system, my cortisol, and my mitochondria all went like a cat who got his finger stuck in the light socket, type of thing. And so with that, then I came up with this nut allergy. And I know that as I've been healing a lot of that backstory, and I do a lot of work on myself. That's why I love helping and supporting others, because I know how to do the work, that I've been healing, and my nut allergy is starting to taper down. I used to not be able to walk into a room with any nuts. I would go into a full blown attack, and I can walk into a room now. And so with that you can do healing work. It just takes a little observation, self-observation. So Kathryn, what's the intention behind the Dawn? You've mentioned a little bit of it with the Dawning Institute about what the intention is behind it. But can you go a little bit deeper into what, because you've picked, or the universe has picked, I want to say, some very wonderful, gifted people to be on the Dawning Institute. And if you want to give a little bit more understanding of what that intention has brought forth for the people who are going to be here to support others.
So yeah, the Dawning Institute is really here to bridge the gaps between Western medicine, accessibility, and healing. There's a lot of trauma even around going to see a counselor. There's been a lot of bias in the system, and this is really to reintegrate you within yourself. So we do this body, mind, soul, lifestyle union, or I should say reunion. The intention is to help people through either confusion, the fog, or some of the darkest depths that they have known. And we do this with just these wonderful, wonderful people. So we have Jenny that does brain spotting. We've got Natasha that does the helping through the soul, spiritual work. We have Steve that does hypnotherapy and smart recovery. We have Erica that is a licensed counselor. We have Emma that specializes in neurodivergent entrepreneurs and life coaching through that. We have, Tessera, which I am getting her back on. She is our nutritionist, right? So our nutrition coach. She is a professional chef, and she can guide people through how to work with their bodies in the foods that they, consume. So, and it's also within their budget, because the budget is also very important to keep in mind when we're doing all of this. And I'm still on the lookout for more aligned providers. So if you have services that you offer to uplift humanity, even if it's nothing that I've said here, especially if it's nothing that I have mentioned here,
we want a well-rounded community, because not everybody needs, like, there's some people that don't align with me and they'll align with somebody else, or vice versa. And so the more that we have to support, the greater the healing opportunity.
Exactly. And I would just love to welcome people who are into physical fitness, who are into financial, counseling or those kind of fields, because I don't know about you, but when I finally liberated myself off of those medications, I had no idea what I was doing with a budget. Here I was 39 and almost, brand new back at 16, because that's really where the medication started. So through all of this, I've had to teach myself while healing how to do everything. And so I really don't want to have anybody else have to go through that. So when you're able to understand a budget, when you're able to understand what an interest rate is, what a credit score is, why it matters, how to repair, how to, go about your daily life in a more complete and understanding way, you're able to lower the anxiety because you know what the heck you're doing. You don't need some random person telling you what they're doing. Doesn't matter. You know what you're doing for your circumstance. So that really helps as well. So I do have a page on dawninginstitute.com, and it lists out non-exhaustive, actually list mind, body, soul of practitioners that I would love to welcome into the fold of our community.
Yay. I know that, because I grew up with my dad saying, at this minute in time, we make these choices. Tomorrow you'll have other information that you'll make other choices. So please understand that when you made the choice down here at your younger self, you didn't know better to do better. And so love that person. And like my son Scott has said to me lately, because I've been working on a lot of things, well, Mom, your past self didn't set your now self up for success. So now your now self is setting your now self up for future success. And so with that, we're all in the midst of what have we done in the past that we can really say, okay, I didn't do that very well, but I want to do now better. I want to do now better. And that's what's important, because we sit in the past so much when we're dealing with our trauma. We sit in our shame, we sit in our guilt, we sit on our misunderstandings and our judgments, self-judgment. Oh my gosh, that's huge. But this is just an hour show in the big conversation. So if we haven't tapped on something, please don't limit our language in this show, because it is just a moment of skimming off the top here. Kathryn,
I would invite the audience to start asking questions if they'd like,
yes,
as well. It's interactive.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, if you do have any questions or anything, I know that we've got many different people watching here, that, please reach out and see what you would like to hear, or what would you like us to talk about? Because, right now, I have an understanding that the planets that are arising, I'm not an astrologer, but I tap into the energies. Usually when I do listen to my astrologer, I'm already tapping into those. I've done a video the night before of what she talked about, right? So, we're in the middle of a lot of planets really, one of the planets that hasn't been in our system, except for when World War II went on and the Civil War. And, it's like all these different things that we're having these planets that are coming around that are really stirring us up and really having us look at who we are. And so the more, and we got to be, it's time to find community. A lot of us have been doing this work alone, and it's time to find community. So Kathryn, thank you for bringing this community together. And it's amazing how we're doing this. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that your truth is your truth. Please, please, if you have any comments or questions, please reach out, because I would love to to bring those in. And we're all going into this understanding. So Chandra, thank you for being here. Love the idea of the Dawning Institute. How is the word getting out for patients and groups to find and know about it? That's a
So
very good question.
I am posting on social media very badly, apparently, because again, I'm having to teach myself all of this. So I would welcome people to follow, to share, to comment. I do have a TikTok, Dawning Institute. You can find me there. I have an Instagram, the same thing, as well as the Cat Next Door. That's mostly my personal, but I do cross post a lot. And then I have LinkedIn, and this is something also that I wanted to bring up. I do have a personal and a Dawning Institute professional page on LinkedIn. And I put a post there this morning that has a 7-page Word document of groups, resources, organizations, businesses in Texas and nationally that is helping the first responders, the victims, their families, gather either donations, resource donations, things like that. Also for animals, like a dog shelter, I believe is a part of that, because we can't leave our furry little friends either.
No. Yeah.
That's part of it as well. So if you go onto LinkedIn, you can find me there. You can find the Dawning Institute there, and you can take a look at that 7-page document. If it resonates with you, please share it. And if you can't donate, that's okay, but maybe somebody in your circle can. And really just to get all the help that these people need at this critical juncture.
Because I know you have a personal connection to Texas, especially the Austin area, and you've actually talked about doing a conference down there, and so that's still in the works. It's still in the process of that, and so with that's why Texas is kind of calling to you a little bit, because I mean, and other places too. I don't want to dishonor that, but that's why, you do have a personal connection there. So thank you for honoring that. And, so with that I will, she sent me the LinkedIn copy, and I'll put that on the comment. All right, not in the comments, but I'll put it in the bottom of the YouTube channel. And then when I post, I will try to post that. Still waiting for you to come to Austin.
Jenny, I'm working on it, I promise. It'll be you and me in the monsters, and I don't know what else, but it'll be foolishness and shenanigans and all different sorts of love.
Exactly. It's going to be oh my gosh, it's going to be a miracle. I mean, it's not the miracle for you to get there, but it'll be a miracle for what you guys do while you're there.
This expo idea, it was, one of those other kind of divinely guided, inspired, I guess you could say, because you're talking about, hey, this is in wellness, and this is how we can innovate wellness. And, this is what we stand for, what we do. And all of a sudden people look at me like I've got 3 heads, which, to be fair, I mean, I get it. But when I say body, mind, soul reconnection, they don't really understand. Now, what is the best way for people to learn? Experience. If you can experience what TDI is about, then, all of a sudden, hey, I get it and I love it. And, then that's really when the support will come through, because when what it feels like to really come back to yourself, that is a very powerful moment.
It is. And that's the thing is that our body is in this 3D world right now. Our body is part of, and our body is the one that gets affected by what we eat, what we emotionally go through, the cortisol, the mitochondria, a lot of those different interactions affects the body. But then the soul is something that's saying, wake up, be here, be now, breathe, do what you need to do. And then the spirit is that energy that's out there. And how do you discern yourself between the spirit that's out there and your own spirit and your own vibration and your own understanding? And
It's
it's that whole connection that is, and people always talk about, I want to be in the fifth dimension. If you don't know the body, mind, spirit connection, it's hard to find your way there, and I'm not connected with any dimensional walk, but I'm connected with being who you are in the middle. I mean, the world around you can be falling apart, but who are you while you're falling apart, while the world's falling apart around you, right?
Well,
You don't have to fall apart with it.
Another thing is, who are you if you have nothing left? And that's something else that a lot of people don't understand about talking with authenticity. You hear a lot of people out there, you've got to live an authentic life. You've got to, you've got to do X, Y, Z. But I don't really hear a lot of people saying, who are you if you have nothing? No job title, no family title, no fancy little number or fancy little letters at the end of your name. Who are you if you were stripped with, from everything? Mm-hmm. And I think that was one of the gifts. And I have to put it this way, because y'all gonna look at me like I've got two heads again, but that's okay. One of the gifts of losing everything during COVID, one of the gifts of becoming homeless, living in my car in a Walmart parking lot, was that I was able to find out who I was without anything. And it was humbling and traumatic and not something I ever, want to ever repeat. But it's also gave me insight into how that, how that lifestyle is, why people do what they do, how the organizations are set up, how you can actually go in and get services, or what the blockages to those services are. And I dug myself out of that. I did not stop. I got myself a job. I got myself an apartment. I got myself and my two dogs, set up for success, because they're family too. And when I signed the adoption papers, I said forever, not until.
Yeah.
So they came with me. And yes, it was a little more difficult to have Belle and Bob. But it was definitely a blessing that they were still there.
Mm-hmm. Well, they helped you. I witnessed that they helped you through. I didn't know you when you were in your car. I came into your life shortly after that, when you were starting to get on your feet again. And, I witnessed a woman. Oh my gosh. I know that we all have a moment where we go through I did it when my whole family passed away, and I didn't know how to be a mom, and I didn't know how to be a wife. I didn't even know how to be Natasha. I didn't even know what love was. I was rewriting my own love category. And so with that, when we go through that moment of just your life falls apart and you rebuild yourself, that is when you really find out that your life calling is, it's kind of like the purpose, but it's that, who am I? It's that, and once you find it, nobody can take you off of it.
No,
nobody can.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not saying it takes something that extreme. Absolutely not. And I hope nobody else experiences that. But I am here because I did. Mm-hmm. I am here because I know what it feels like. I am here because I know the gaps. Not only was I a patient, but I was in the medical field for over a decade. So I've seen both sides. I know how it works. I know how medical billing works. I know how medical administration works. I know what it feels like to fall in the gaps as a patient. Mm-hmm. And it's just not okay. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. It's just the system is set up to wring as much money out of someone's blood. And that's basically how I can see it. It's blood money at times. And so this is set up to be a more humane way. This is set up to be a way that anybody can access it. And in fact, if anybody knows anybody that is looking to invest in a venture, my idea for my vision, my plan for the wellness center will actually allow people from any walk of life, regardless of socioeconomic status, to get the services that they need in person. Mm-hmm. This is not going to exclude anyone. This is true community building. Mm-hmm. This is saving lives. And it could be anybody from, the veteran on the street to the most high functioning CEO. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, everybody deserves a chance. No one deserves to be imprisoned by the chains and shackles of trauma because they cannot afford to live. And when I was going through mine and I couldn't afford help, I had to find my own path. I had to find my own help. I had to create it. And I don't want anybody else to go through that. So this is why TDI is here. Mm-hmm. It's to fill the gaps. It's to breathe life back into people. And really, it is my life, my soul on a plate, offering to anybody who's willing to take my hand.
And I have witnessed a woman who has this calling that is so deep in her knowing that it's like it keeps popping up. Even when you wanted to push it off, it kept coming right back. When you say TDI, you're talking about the Dawning Institute. Yeah. So I just want to make that clear. So Chandra, thank you. And Chandra is one that she's a client of mine, turned into a friend, and she has a lot of understandings and that kind of stuff through the mental health and that kind of thing. And I want people to know that if you want to share this with anybody, please share this video, and I will share a link because I post tonight. I'll share a link to this post too in tonight's post that I do. So it will get out. But the more that anybody can share about the Dawning Institute, and I love that she said this, that another idea would be to have a table, give talks to various groups and organizations such as the IOCDF or something along those lines, Austin Speaks, etc. So
I'm into speaking opportunities. So let's just kind of put that out there into the universe as well. It's something that I'm definitely looking forward to. I really just want to help people, motivate people, give people hope, because it's kind of dark right now.
It is feeling very dark, the energies. And that's one thing that we got to be careful about, is that discerning from the spirit that's around us, because that is very palatable right now, of fear and less than, and scarcity, and and judgment and pain and distractions. It's full of distractions, and we gotta know that we don't have to tap into those distractions, and it's time for us to take care of us. And that's one thing that I am so grateful, that when we can find that hope and that understanding, that when I had that moment, and I hope that you found it too, Kathryn, which I see you sort of being successful in your life right now, that when you find that one thread, and it's one thread, as I'm hemming my dress, that one thread can be the difference and can start rewiring the brain's processing. Yeah. And when you rewire the brain's processing, which takes about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months, sometimes 6 months, depends on how chemically out of balance it is, because that's what those chemicals like to do, is they like to disarm the mind and this body, mind, spirit connection. It wants to say that you're less than. How many people, when you look at the side effects of a lot of these drugs, it's killing thyself, right? It's like unaliving yourself. And so it's like, why are we setting our I'm not going to go there because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I want to have hope here, because we're all in the midst of doing this, and it is that. But people think that vulnerability is a weakness, and actually, it's one of the strength. When you strengthen that piece, that vulnerability piece, when you have that trust of strengthening that vulnerability, it is like strengthening your arms. You can grab onto your life because vulnerability is actually, when you start knowing yourself, nobody can stop you.
Yeah.
It's like a tree in a wind. Do you know how palm trees stay during hurricanes, right? Do they fall over? Not really. They sway in the wind. And when you get to know yourself, that vulnerability piece, and you get to know yourself, you become your own tree with your deep roots in knowing who you are.
These guys are stuck.
What was it that you said, sweetie?
Have you seen the trees in Florida? They just stay there. They are deeply rooted. They are planted.
And they're in sand. They're in sand. You would think that they would fall over, but no, they're in sand. And so with that, it's a moment. And, we're down to the last 15 minutes here, sweetie, and an hour goes fast. It's amazing how fast hours go. That, coming into our own understanding is very scary. Is there any language that you can give to people to work with their scarcity? It's not scarcity, but it's that scaredness that they have about looking into who they are.
The apprehension of the person staring back at them in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
That goes deep. In fact, when I started doing that practice, I couldn't look at myself. I mean, I looked up and then I had to look away, and then look up and I had to look away. Because when you face yourself, I mean, when you really look into your eyes, it's unnerving, and it's one of those experiences where it can really just kind of throw you off into left field. So when I started doing that, I did it only to the point where I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. And then I just walked away for a while and I let it integrate. Mm-hmm. And I came back. And then what I started doing, I guess you could say unintentionally, is when I was putting on my makeup, right? Especially when I'm doing my eye makeup, I started looking at myself in the eyes. Mm-hmm. Not really exactly where I'm placing it, but more of, who is this person in the mirror? And it's been almost liberating in a way, because I wear makeup mostly for the fact, number one, I enjoy it. But number two, I was told as a teenager that I look a lot like my mother. And that there's it's onion layers on that one.
I hear you. Oh my God.
And because she's completely blind, she was totally blind since the age of 15, which is another reason why people didn't believe me, because how can a blind woman be an abuser, right? So I put on this makeup to differentiate myself between who I am and the ghost of my mother.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very well said. The ghost mm-hmm. of your mother, because your mother is your mother, and she's in here, which is the ghost, right?
And that's one of the deepest rooted, trauma tapes, let's call them, because sometimes they're just on repeat and they won't let go. And unfortunately, even when you go no contact like I did, it doesn't leave, it still stays. And that's part of complex trauma, is those tapes. And that's something that, and I'm just going to do a shout out, Jenny and Brain Spotting has helped me with just trying to get over a little bit of those trauma tapes, those trauma loops. And it's really helped out, at least kind of quieting them down, mm-hmm. And it gets to a point now where it starts ramping back up and I'm having a difficult time sleeping, and I'm able to now just kind of look at where that's going and go like, okay, cool story, bro. Are you done? Can I go to sleep? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to have that little attitude with them.
Oh, I've told my brain to, would you blankety blank shut up?
Yeah,
Because it's like it's an entity to me. Not an entity, but it has its own personality in a way, and it likes to disrupt. It likes to sabotage. It likes to do a lot of these different things. And if we can do, because I have simple mantras: I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe. Just to get my brain thinking of other words that aren't part of that system. But yeah, so thank you, Jenny. Jenny, that you've done that, because I know that it's amazing when you can start rewiring the brain, because it can be your friend. It doesn't have to be the disruptor.
you
Let's
got it.
So she says, let's do a full session on me and get rid of the voice for good. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, because it is a moment. And I know for me, it's like my brain very rarely now goes into the negative because I've practiced my way out of it so much. And being dyslexic like I have, and people don't really realize I didn't read until after high school. So a lot of my spiritual knowings are just me being with me, and then being bullied and being, an only child, no friends, I really got to know me. And then I had to really find myself going through my grief. So going into this, that, I have witnessed you, Kathryn, coming through so many dark moments that weren't yours. They were put upon you because of the way that we, like a lot of times in my intuitional work, I get like this kid who's sitting like at the dining room table listening to their parents or somebody talk in the kitchen, and it's not even about them, but then they take it on, and then we start this domino effect, and then we have other conversations that come in
Yeah.
because um of the conversations, the energy. It's the same energy signature, and so you attach those conversations to the same energy signature, because a lot of us are empaths. And so going into this, then you get in this domino effect of, well, then I'm less than, and then when you get the stories coming in,
Mhm.
and your brain has been wired this way since maybe a year old, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that then you get stuck in these survival patterns. And
Hmm.
how can you break out of survival to go into thriving? And that's probably one of the biggest thresholds that I have been stuck at. I mean, have you seen these? Yeah, I'm gonna age myself, so be it. These toys that you wind up and then they go and they bounce a wall against a wall
Yep.
against a wall against a wall.
I made
That's
you make up for it.
me,
Yeah.
right? I'm just like, here I am. I'm starting to get a breakthrough, and then I break my nose against a wall. Because it's just all of a sudden that trauma, that scarcity, that lack, that survival is the talons are so deeply ingrained in you. And it goes even back to childhood. If you grew up in a home that you, like I did, where we went to food closets and my mom was on disability, so we didn't get that much. And it sometimes I didn't eat because I wasn't at school, so I didn't have the free lunch program. Yeah, and it's you when you grow up in things like that, that affects the child.
Yeah, exactly.
um, and there's a lot of things that people don't realize how deeply that goes. And so that's another reason why TDI is here, is because I know that pain as well, and we need to break out of that. Food scarcity, when we have access to food, that is mental health. When we have access to housing, that is mental health. When we have access to employment, that is mental health. When
It
we
really
have
is.
access to community, that is mental health. Everything really is all intertwined. And
Exactly.
it's just one of those things that when we nourish our bodies and when we're able to sit down and meditate, that's another thing. A lot of people won't tell you this. When you have deep rooted trauma, meditation You cannot go straight into meditation because your survival brain is kicked into hyperdrive. What you need to do first, and this is only because I had to do this, because I was wondering, I was so frustrated. Why can I not meditate? Why am I failing each and every time? I just sit down and I try to calm down, and it's just like all of a sudden, oh, let's bring up something when you were 5, and oh, how about that when you were 8? Oh, guess what? When you were 12. And it's just, my brain couldn't shut up, even when I was in my own home, and I, because I live alone, so I was safe. It's safe, but I was not safe within myself. So the first thing that you need to do when there is just long-term trauma is that you need to start working it out somatically. So whether it's through biofeedback, whether it's through, what is it? So I went through Human Garage, and Human Garage is fascia maneuvers. So you basically kind of twist yourself up in a pretzel and all of this, but it really helps release the stored up trauma in your physical body. And when you're able to calm your physical body and you're able to get out of pain and you're able to just be able to relax and your central nervous system calms down, your cortisol is lowered, all of a sudden you have these moments, these breakthroughs where you're like, wait a minute, why am I not thinking anything? Like, why is my brain just completely shut off? Which, by the way, when you're not used to that, it's a little jarring at first.
It really is. It really is. Especially because I understand that ADHD, there is us naturally aligned with ADHD, but then we have the trauma-induced ADHD that I have spoken about, and that just wants us to be distracted from a lot of things of that quietness.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had to be hyper vigilant to stay safe. We had to control the emotions or help mitigate the emotions of our parent or our siblings in order to stay safe. And that is not a role that any child should be put into at all, ever. Which is why I say before you have kids, make sure you heal yourself, because you don't want to pass that on.
Because a lot of times we do pick partners that will mirror what we know of our safety. And, and that's, I mean, I know I've picked 2 partners that the more I did the healing work, then my husband got sober, and now he's 14 years sober and working on his narcissism, even though he didn't know what the word was when I said, honey, thank you for not being the narcissist that you used to be. And he goes, what's a narcissist? It's like,
yeah. And that is very true, because my ex-husband, my son's father, just like my mother. And I don't even touch on the foolishness that went on with that, but parental alienation is very real. So just like my mother pitted my sister and I against our father, my ex-husband and his family did the same with my son. So I'm not upset with him for choosing to go no contact. I did the same thing until I learned the truth. So honestly, right now he is active duty in the Marines. I'm not sure exactly where he is, but I pray for his safety every day. I love him. I'm glad he's here, but I also honor that path. I know where that anger comes from when you're fed, whatever you think it's the truth. I mean, it has to be if it comes from your parent, if it comes from your grandparent, and that's okay.
And that's that whole dance of shifting up your mind, body, and spirit is your truth bucket. oh my gosh, does it get tipped over? And you have to figure out your own individual truth. And that's
Mhm.
not, it's a journey. People want it to happen right now, and it can happen right now. I get it. We can, but there's also part of this body, the nervous system and the mitochondria and a lot of the cortisol moments, because cortisol is actually a good, it's a good hormone. It gets you up in the morning, it gets you moving, but it picks up to, it's like, oh, there's a little bit of negativity I can pick up on too, and that attacks with our nervous system. But as we're going forward, that because we're down to the last few minutes here, that as we're going forward with this dance of figuring out who we are and what we're doing, the more that we can be more safer with our walk, and know that, you know trust the people that you go into, like the Dawning Institute, because not, and that's one thing that I love about how you have picked these wonderful people, because in the spiritual world, not everybody is.
In any kind of world, not everybody is.
Yeah. And so you can
So,
find that in doctors. They don't have the integrity. And that's one thing that I love about the way that the people have come to you. The universe has brought you people, and you've allowed them in, is that, you have found people with high integrity. So thank you, because it is about the fuller circle. Like I love Chandra. She said that, she loves the guided meditation, and that's been helping her through. And she's finally getting some sleep, because it is about what you eat, it's about what you tell yourself, it's about the journey of things, and getting that comfort in who you are. And thank you, Chandra, for chiming in here. Thank you very much. So Kathryn, the hour goes too fast. The hour just goes too fast, and I want to have other people on from the Dawning Institute. I'm hoping that they will, get in touch with me, because I would love to put them on and have a conversation about what role they play in the Dawning Institute, because I want to use my platform as a conversation with that. So,
well,
Kathryn, is
we
there
are doing a panel.
what's that?
We're doing a panel. Did you? Okay. I sent y'all an email. We're doing a panel.
Yes,
Yes.
I
So
saw
we're
that.
going
So
to, yeah, we're going to be putting those advertisements, those announcements out here pretty soon. But there will be a panel to basically introduce TDI, to introduce the providers, to let everybody say hello, what they do, and really just kind of get to know them, because these are wonderful people that I trust as well. And for somebody to go through some really heavy trauma, trust is a major thing. So I can absolutely vouch for each and every one of them.
Well, thank you. And so, what platforms would that panel come out on?
So right now I am looking at YouTube and LinkedIn, possibly TikTok as well. But I'm going to take a look at what I can do with the limited knowledge of technology that I have, because I don't know about you, but last time I tried to do something a little bit wonky, I caused a 404 error on my website. It kind of went down. I should not. No.
Give yourself credit. You are doing so well. I mean, please be careful of your self-talk, my dear, because you are amazing. You have done amazing work, and that's why the universe has brought other people in, because
Right.
sometimes we are not the full puzzle piece. We're not the full puzzle. We need
Yeah.
other people to fill in the other puzzle pieces. And
I
so
need
that's
help. I do. I can't do this alone. I have this wonderful community, and in order for us to grow and be the best that we can be, then yes, I'm going to need more people, more hands, more souls, more love.
Exactly. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Please like and share. I'm going to be sharing this around on my social media. If anybody wants to share this on their social media, please do so. And, I just want everybody to know that mental health, it changes your world. I mean, like listening to my husband talk of being, his sobriety and how his mental health, he is, he's a changed man. And I've lived 34 years with him, and with 14 years of sobriety. I know how changed he is right now, because it's a whole lot easier to say, well, honey, this morning I didn't really understand that I was going to have a grumpy husband, and he went, oh, I am being grumpy, am I? So, it's like people can shift up, but it takes a little bit of self-trust and self-work. And, we all can do it. And Chandra, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Please, like I said, like and share. Thank you, Kathryn, for being here. Any last words you would like to say to anybody?
There's always hope. There is always a way. Sometimes it doesn't seem like there's any kind of path, but you've got this. Even if you don't know, you've got this. And sometimes, it does take you crumbling down on the floor and scream crying. And I've been there a few times, but we're still here, and we're still making it. And just because you don't feel like you can do it anymore, I want to remind you of one thing. You have still survived 100% of the foolishness and BS that is ever thrown at you in your life, because you are still here. So don't give up. You got this. There's people that understand. There's people that care. And there's people that want to help. So reach out.
And please remember, this moment can change to a better moment. Keep believing. Keep believing. Thank you, everyone. Oh.
No, I'm just saying, Journey song, don't stop believing.
I know. Not a minute.
Copyright kind of infringement.
It's a mention. So thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you for chiming in, and thank you for watching. And I hope today's show, if anything, gave you the spark to understand you're not alone, and there is ability to have some help. And the Dawning Institute, oh my gosh, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. And so go check it out. Great people are there to support. If you're looking for anybody and everybody, I'm there myself. Please know that. And if you want to, go to my website, intuitiveclarifications.com. There is a link through my website also. So thank you, everyone. Blessings. May you have the journey. I will be live every Wednesday at 4 o'clock Pacific time to bring light and love to this world. Remembering your truth is your truth. This is a perspective to support you in your life's walk. Please put in your back pocket and see what you can carry along in your life, because that's how you shift up the mindset. Blessings, everybody. Bye now.